Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me, we got Jameson, we got Ty, and we're here to talk about what's been a very turbulent 48 hours in Norman. Things are still crazy, believe it or not. When your head coach leaves, a lot more stuff happens. So, from Sunday's emergency podcast to now, there's a lot to cover, a lot to break down. But I want to start off by asking Ty, what was your reaction when it all went down? Because Jameson and I got all of our, kind of first thoughts out, but I want to hear what you have to say about Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I really enjoyed the podcast that you guys did. I really enjoyed, particularly near the end, Jameson sort of talked about how he doesn't disagree with the decision. And I think it makes sense. It makes sense for Lincoln Riley. I think he likes to be, and I'm not trying to say this as an insult necessarily, but I think he likes to be the big fish in the small ponds. I think he enjoyed being at OU when we ran the Big 12 and probably wasn't looking forward to the SEC. And he loves recruiting. I mean, he loves recruiting and loves developing, his players. And I understand there's a whole, betrayal aspect with the ones here and other recruits and whatever, but Southern California, that school is just an excellent spot for him to be great at recruiting, be the big fish in the small ponds. Are they going to win national championships there? I don't know. I don't want to say yes or no either way. I'm leaning towards no, but I think he'll win conference championships, and I think he'll do great at recruiting, and I think he'll be very happy and fulfilled there. So, it sucks. But the two biggest things I have to say just real quick is OU is so beyond lucky, cannot be described how lucky we are to have Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops is OU football. I know he says over and over that the program is bigger than just one person. He is OU football. Like, there is not another school out there that has a coach at his age that is retired, that is ready and willing to just step in and go full bore, go out on the recruiting trail, step up for press conferences, step up to coach the games. Nobody has that. Literally no one else. There's a few schools that have some really, really old dudes that would, if they could. And if we didn't have Bob, we'd have Barry. Barry Switzer would come out there and do everything he could. He would. He was at the press conference.
How quick do you think Barry would get a recruiting violation if he started today?
Well, it's the NIL era, so I don't know, because I feel like he would just find a loophole where he could personally sponsor people and just show up with a T-shirt that said Barry Switzer and then just literally a brown bag of cash.
Switzer Wine and Spirits are going to sponsor you. So.
R.I.P. Switzer Wine.
No, and then just real quick, the second big point that I had that you guys didn't really hit on because it sort of was stirred up later on, and I know with our friends, I know it's a big talking point for other people in the Big 12 is the Lincoln Riley move is not comparable to the OU SEC move or the Texas SEC move, in my opinion, because we announced our intention to move last August, and we still don't know when we're moving. Presumably it's going to be this, coming August, but it might not be, it might be down the road. We don't know, but at a minimum, OU and Texas gave a year's notice that we were going to be leaving. And then we continued to dedicate 100%, to the Big 12 as long as we're here. We're going to go and presumably in the bowl games, play an SEC team, play our next future conference, and we're severely disadvantaged, but we're going to go and give it our best for the Big 12. That win-loss record is going to go in for the Big 12 when we go in there and win or lose. So I wouldn't necessarily compare a guy literally announcing and then being gone literally 12 hours later, who's doing a press conference for the next school and just ghosting us while we still have games left. I would not compare those two at all. I understand it's a sore subject for fans of other schools. I understand we still kind of screwed over the other schools, but had Lincoln Riley announced to us last November, hey, next November I'm going to be going to USC. Obviously, there's some stuff that you can't prevent, just like the other Big 12 schools can't prevent some stuff, but a year's notice is not the same as, hey, by the way, I'm outie. So.
And also, we're going to take all of your recruits, which is, that's part of the business. But you have to be ruthless. You have to be lethal. You can't just dilly-dally in recruiting. And I understand that. But also, it stings, and we'll get into the recruiting corner a little bit. But I want to touch on your Bob Stoops point, and let's just jump right into that one. Bob?
Hello.
Welcome back, buddy. Hello to you too. Because I think, one of the few things getting me through all of this is that press conference. And there wasn't a lot of substance to it other than just general, look, we're still Oklahoma. We're still the program you know and love. We weren't all just Lincoln Riley this whole time, which is kind of what OU had become. It worked. It worked for recruiting for sure. Jameson can attest to that 100%. But it's not it's not a sustainable model. Just having one guy, and then when that guy leaves, the the floor falls out from under you. You have to rebound, and you have to have a guy like Bob Stoops. There's a very good article Kerry Murdoch wrote where it's like you have to have a guy like Bob Stoops who is all about the program, but you also have to have a guy like Lincoln Riley who's about development and what he can do for you. So finding that blend is going to be huge. Check that out on Sooner Scoop if you haven't. But I don't know. I think having a program guy is exactly what you need right now in these tough moments, these trying times. You need a Bob Stoops to come in and steady the ship, and he did that. Jameson, I know you're not an emotional guy, but you're more logic. What did you see out of Stoops, and what does that mean for the program? What is this demeanor? What did that press conference show you?
Here's my thing with Stoops, and I feel like a lot of people are getting pumped up and very excited for him. But in all honesty, in the grand scheme of things, other than a morale boosting, there's not much more of a place for him. He's going to coach the bowl game, but we're clearly going to have a coach probably before the bowl game. I'd hope so, before the bowl game. So maybe people can get pumped up, and he's going to recruits teams and everything. All he is just a spokesperson. He's just convincing people, and he's not really that huge of a part of this football team moving forward after this bitch. I understand he's in the athletic department, but it's just nice to have someone to put that message and someone that it's easy to listen to. And it's helped the fans kind of, cope a little bit. It's a nice little, crutch when you're like, oh, the good old times. Remember with Bob Stoops, and people can have some little member berries right now. But other than that, I mean, it's all about just boosting people's morale.
And but that's my thing is I feel like that's more than just, because long term, look, let's be honest, Bob's not going to be on the sideline, obviously, beyond this one game and the offseason. But it is so important because otherwise, who do you got going up there? You don't have Grinch, obviously. So
can you imagine Joe Castiglione trying to do this press conference without Bob Stoops? That would have been tough.
Who do you have? Because Faraz didn't say a single thing the whole time. Until Castiglione was like, "Hey, are you going to talk?"
But that's my thing is who would you have? Who would you be sending out on all these recruiting trips? That's
kind of my point too. Though is it's we're not in. We have, because Stoops, to some extent, we have that ability to, this shocked us, this was, there was never going to be a good time, but we can sort of stop the bleed or slow the bleed here with Stoops, because it's different than, presumably DeMarco Murray going out on the recruiting trail, or someone from the administration or someone from the staff. He is a national champion. I understand it was, 20 years ago now, but he's a national championship winning coach, very winning coach, and he's a coach that coached, only 5 years ago. So these kids that are recruits now would have been in middle school, would have been paying attention. He's not old news. He's been, in the public eye, been commentating and stuff. So I think it's really important. Obviously we're going to get into the recruiting aspect, but it is, I think, very important to have someone that is a proven, dedicated head coach like him that can step in and sort of stop the bleed right now. Because it's it would be like if Ohio State, Ryan Day just goes to them for the Notre Dame job or something ridiculous. And then Urban came up there, to go to the bars and hit on chicks, but also to go to the press conference and be like, hey, I'm going to be here for you guys until you find someone. It's a very significant thing. So yeah, he's not our future, but he's the tourniquet that we've put on to, keep us from bleeding out too bad.
He's the guy who shows you, look, this organization still cares about you. This administration still cares. And even though, he's not going to be out there coaching you on the sidelines, it's still a bit of flash that carries a little bit of weight. I don't know. As good as the assistants are that are with him, I don't know. There's just a little little panache to having Bob Stoops walk in your door. I don't know.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, he knows how to work a room.
Yeah, I think it is very positive to have a spokesperson in him. But I don't know how many recruits look at Bob Stoops in that speech and just like, oh, thank God Bob Stoops came to talk with me. I'm going to stay. It's like he's just a person who's convincing. It's his message more so than him with these recruits, in my opinion. Because even though you say like they were in middle school whenever Bob Stoops was there, like I don't know how much they really buy into that. Because like whenever I think back to me in middle school, I was just starting to begin, like my really in-depth sports, for love. And it's kind of things hit a little bit different as your brain develops going into high school. So I think it's just if you have a good spokesman who's convincing, I think it's more so the message. And from what it sounds like, he has been delivering the message to a lot of people. And I really want to hammer this in as well, just because like he's not the only coach that's out on the road. Everyone that did not go with Lincoln is out on the road right now, talking to people or at in-home visits, whether that be in Oklahoma or Texas or all across the nation. I know specifically Brian Odom, even though there's some questions there, he's been doing like meetings. Same thing with Beatembo. Beatembo is very on the fence if he is going to go or stay. And this new head coach is going to tell a lot of what he wants to do. He's still talking to recruits. And both of those guys are probably, up there with Jamar Cain and DeMarco Murray as more influential guys out there talking right now. There's certain recruits that I would think that maybe you would even consider coming back if we retain some of those coaches. And I'll get into that in the Cruton Corner.
Just a little quick Cruton Corner, appetizer. Steve Woltfong of 247 just said that Jake Taylor, hard commit to OU, has just declined a USC in-home visit and official visit invite. So that's good at least.
He's a Las Vegas kid, and DeMarco Murray is really hitting hard with all these Las Vegas kids. But yeah, there's two other Las Vegas kids that are feeling pretty good about Oklahoma still, at least publicly.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
And I do want to say, it's obviously all conjecture at this point, but we are sort of at a point where, obviously this has not been the press conference. And then, Joe and Joe, Tom and Greg went home and, went to sleep. And then, Bob went out on the trail. Like there is active, work towards the coach. And you have to assume that as soon as we get into, the point where the lawyers are, because this is not something that happens snap, in spite of what Lincoln Riley will tell you, this is not something that can get thrown together in 24 hours. So we could very potentially have a coach right now that we're just at the point where the lawyers on either side are working together and throwing together a contract. And you have to assume that to some extent, the recruits are getting more privileged information than we're getting. So I do think there is some value to having Bob Stoops come to your house and say, hey, I know you had a commitment to this, but I think we're screwed for quarterbacks for a while. But
we are.
You're going to come in. You're going to come in and do this, and I just want to tell you, from me, Bob Stoops, to you, we got insert name here coming in, and we're working on finalizing the deal right now with insert name coming in as the coordinator. And I just want you to know that before you make any decisions or anything else. Just give me a few weeks to wait on the news sort of thing as well, which is, very possible. That's to some extent how that stuff works. So,
yeah. The thing is, go ahead.
I was just going to say USC has thrown so much money at Lincoln Riley. Eventually they're going to run out of money to throw at players. So hopefully we can throw more money at players.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So here's the thing with a lot of this coaching things. I think we really need to talk about this. And it's pretty, probably the biggest thing what everyone wants to know is like, who's going to be the next coach of Oklahoma? And Brent Venables is the name right now. To people on Twitter, they saw his son, who's currently a safety at Clemson, putting down the horns down. And that is quite telling. DJ Uiagalelei was also in that picture, but no, it seems like his dad is on Twitter. Dad's on Twitter loose, like dad's gone wild, claiming that Brent Venables is not leaving. But I think it's pretty clear that if Brent gets that job offer, he's going to go to OU just from reading the tea leaves. But I think it's quite telling right now that there is not a head coach, in position with this close to signing day. If, there was a list kind of already created on the side by Castiglione, which he said, that we don't already have one public because it's causing a lot of scrambling from guys like Bob and the other coaching staff that we have on the road right now. So that makes you think, is there another candidate out that right now that we're still going after for and hoping that couldn't publicly accept the job because they're in a current, predicament or championship college football or in the NFL. So I would not be surprised if it might go a little bit later past these championships or, maybe in the playoffs, because we can talk about plenty of candidates that right now, like a Luke Fickell or out of Cincinnati, or even like a Matt Rule at Carolina, even though he's had a rough couple of years, that's a guy that in the Big 12 is highly respected and is a high character guy. And it's been dealt a really bad hand in Carolina with Sam Darnold and him getting hurt and Christian McCaffrey's soft paper tissues of any kind of muscle or ligament that he has. It's honestly. Yeah, honestly. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, if it's not Venables, we continue to see it for a little bit, because Venables, is probably ready to go if he wants it.
Yeah, no, and I concur, because that press conference, right, he talked about having a list of guys immediate, but then he also said it might be, smoke and mirrors, tomfoolery, trickery, but he did say that they were getting calls from guys that you would, and this is his quote, would never expect to coach at Oklahoma. So Belichick, I didn't say it, but like,
yeah, no, I feel like if it doesn't happen quickly, it is one of those guys. I fully agree, but Venables is clearly the name in the clubhouse that it's at the top of the list. Has a connection at OU. Obvious from everything I've heard. In terms of how he speaks about the job, around Clemson circles, he seems like he's all in on it. Has fond memories, no bad blood from the breakup before, so he could be a good fit. The former players love him. Bob still likes him. Administration still has a connection with Castiglione, so I think it could be a great fit. But agreed, if this thing drags on, it's probably not him.
Because when's the cutoff on that, you think, Bobby? How much later would you wait throughout this week? Because we started hearing Venables, like rumbles, like legitimate rumbles, on Monday afternoon. So it's been about 24 hours, a little over 24 hours. Time is precious right now. How much longer do we wait until you think we're starting to worry it's not going to be Venables?
I feel like that is more of a, if it doesn't get wrapped up in like 4 or 5 days, then I'd get worried because, yeah.
There is also the possibility, right, that and not to, over speculate, but there's also the possibility that maybe it is Venables, and we've made the decision to not announce until we get a full staff in, coordinators and everything. And there's also a possibility that it is Venables, and he said, hey, let me break it to my guys, and I don't want it to be done until we're done playing games. So, it's a possibility.
I will take a counterpoint to that, Ty, because I guarantee you, and I feel like Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly have been getting a lot of bad rap for this. If the guy accepts the job, first of all, it is in his interest right now to get it as soon as possible because of the timing of recruiting. And two, I guarantee you that Lincoln and Brian Kelly are not spineless beings that they've just been completely thrown out to be right now, because you can't. Whenever you get that job, you have to accept it, obviously, and you're not going to tell your players that you got the job, and you're going there before you accept it. And as soon as you accept it, there's a lot of people in the front offices that have sources that send them out, and then Bruce Feldman or somebody else sends it to Twitter before you can organize a time with your players to get them all together. So I kind of hate all of this, like how dare he let this get to the media before he can announce it? I guarantee you, if he had it his way, the media wouldn't leak it. But there's so many sources in college athletic departments that there's no chance that is going to happen. So it's either you announce it to your players before you accept it to the job, which is extremely risky because something falls through, and then, oh shit, I just told my team I'm leaving and I can't, and I've just tanked myself, or you just look like an asshole. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here, and I'm going to just take that side because I just think it's BS.
Well, I agree.
There's not a good way to leave them, and I think there are two sides to it, because there's no good way to leave a college football job, especially a high-profile one anymore. But at the same time, you're also telling all these kids, letting them find out that way. that these kids who you visited with their parents and talked with them and, took them in and said you were with the program, you're also leaving them out to dry. So they have a right to be mad. And the fans have a right to be mad. I think it's okay to be mad. But at the same time, I see where they're coming from. I don't know. I don't think there's a true moral way to do it anymore. Especially because it very much seems like Lincoln Riley has been planning this for quite a while. Let's be honest. I don't think he made a move to go to LA.
What was it that he heard that this first college team that he talked to in the OU was on Sunday morning to USC?
Garbage. Come on. Yeah, no, in 6 hours I decided to move all the way over there. I struggle planning out what I want for dinner in 6 hours, let alone that. It's ridiculous.
You guys didn't say it on the podcast, and I haven't really heard anyone else say it. I know it's a very fringe belief, but I do want to say the only way that I would believe that Lincoln Riley legitimately made the USC decision in 24 hours is only if he made the decision to go to LSU over the past couple months and then right in the last moment audibled it when he got a better offer from USC. Like, he didn't choose to leave OU. I understand maybe things, he wasn't happy here, which is kind of obvious, but that doesn't happen in 24 hours like that. Mm-hmm. So the only way that I'm buying that he legitimately got a call from USC and said, I'll go, is if he was already going somewhere else. So
that is a theory. But my thought process is more, the USC thing was a little bit better under wraps, and the LSU thing got a little tiny leak, and maybe the LSU thing was more artificially made to help him boost up his USC negotiation tactics.
Yeah.
Because the LSU thing had smoke, but not a lot of fire.
Yeah. It wasn't a huge deal because I think a lot of people didn't think Lincoln Riley would go to a, USC program on its deathbed and then try to revive it. But, it makes sense. It all does make sense, I guess. It is a ground to rebuild for sure. I do think it'll be harder. I think it'll be a little bit harder than he thinks to get instant success.
I don't know that it'll be that hard for him to win the conference in a few years.
Yeah. Anyway, so one name we haven't talked about, the Lanning, the defensive coordinator out of Georgia. Jameson, what do you think about that hire potentially?
Yeah, I hit on it a little bit, very, very briefly in our emergency pod. Just because I was thinking of who are people that are young and up and coming, and who's a unit right now that is blowing people away and should be held responsible for. And he's only 35 years old, and I feel like a lot of people are throwing his name, but I don't know how legitimate really it is because I haven't heard much about him being the sole reason of this stellar Georgia defense and all that stuff. And I don't know how much of his handprint's actually on that system. And to be completely honest with you, I just can't see it. You can tell me I'm wrong, but I just don't have enough information on who he is as a coach, and he doesn't have that long of a coaching history. And to be honest with you, unless he's some Sean McVay type of person, I maybe he needs a couple more years and maybe not go straight to OU and from this position.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because, obviously has a lot of, upside. But again, Georgia has a lot of 5 stars. So that certainly helps a lot. He's a guy, I'm with you. A lot of people pointed to oh, he's like another Bob Stoops, young up-and-coming defense coordinator. But Stoops had been at it for a lot longer than he had. So we'll see how that works out.
Lanning kind of gives me Joe Brady vibes in the sense that, maybe he's at Georgia for a few years. They do really good, like they're on track to do this year, and really dominate, especially defensively. And then just gets super fat money to go to the NFL and continue to build his resume because he's so young. No, and
if it comes out that it's his, he implemented this new system, and made Georgia's defense next level in the offseason, yes, I agree. It could be a Joe Brady thing. But Joe Brady's thing was he brought the New Orleans Saints passing attack to LSU, something that completely took college football by storm. And his attack is, something that everyone wants in their system because how much it blew up college football. I don't know if the scheme of Georgia and the coaching of it is what got him across, or like Bobby said, there's just a lot of good players plus a little bit of good coaching equals a great team. Because LSU definitely had their great offensive players, but it was clear as day that that scheme was something unique that a lot of people weren't ready to see from an SEC offense.
For sure. So, Jameson, if we do go with a defensive-minded head coach, which I feel like a lot of the suggestions have been that, we still have the matter of an offensive coordinator because Lincoln Riley didn't have one, obviously. So what direction, what names have you seen, and what would you like to see, who would you like to see slap on that headset?
I think the name that, like, the only really name I've seen talking about offensive coordinator is Lebby, Jeff Lebby from Ole Miss. And I understand, we kind of talked about it a little bit. There is going to be a little bit of guilty by association because of his past with the Brio situation. And I don't know, is it kind of gross that he's coming from a Lane Kiffin coaching tree now? Do you want to hop on the Lane Kiffin coaching tree?
I want to take the whole staff.
But it seems like the fans are enamored with it, and the people that are like inside like the idea of a Lebby. And no matter, for the most part, out of the candidates we're talking about, I don't see us being a team like we were in the past where Lincoln is your head coach and offensive coordinator. We're going to have offense coordinator and defense coordinator and head coach from what it's looking like. And that might be a breath of fresh air for a lot of people and fans because sometimes when one person has too much on their plate and they're juggling too much, you can see a dip in performance. And that's what a lot of people might be pointing to with Lincoln's play calling this year.
I would agree with that. Ty has been a big like hater on the double, OC head coach type of duty, I believe.
Yeah, I think in the current world, dual hatting is sort of a bit much when you're so involved, when you're as involved as as Lincoln is. I like and I don't want to continue to talk about too much, but like the Saban thing where like the head coach has the final say, defense, offense, whatever it is, he knows exactly the play that's happening and exactly the personnel changes that are happening every single time, but he's not the one necessarily calling them, and he just has a rotating carousel of coordinators and assistants there that are able to do that. And he sits there and has the veto power, but is paying attention to the game itself. There is so much to being so committed to offensive and defensive play calling and stuff during the game. And then just the work off time that I just don't, in the modern college football era, it does not make sense. But I don't want to toot my own horn too much, obviously, like, in hindsight or sound bitter, but that has been a big criticism that I've constantly hammered. And when it comes to the OC, outside of Lebby, I couldn't name you a name. But I do think that literally any name, as long as we have a firm OC who's going to be the play caller, a firm DC who's going to be the play caller, and then a head coach who is not necessarily like a monarch, so to speak, in sort of the modern English sense, but someone that is truly the head leader. They're there vetoing all the decisions. They're being the figurehead, and they're being the boss. We don't need sort of someone that's down, obviously not to get into leadership styles, but we don't need someone that is into the technical details and then also up, the big stuff. We need like the Elon Musk sending crazy tweets, being a good figurehead and being a visionary, going to the factory and, saying like crazy stuff. But like, Elon is not on his computer every night, like working out calculations for the Rockets, right? Or like he's not working out the calculations for the Boring Company or for Tesla. He is the overall leader. He's the personality, the figurehead, which is where I really do like. If we're not going to get Saban, if we're not going to get Saban, Urban, or Belichick, I do like Brent Venables for that role. Because I want someone that's going to go in the locker room and get people hyped up. I don't want someone that's going to beat freaking West Virginia 16-13 or whatever the score of that. Like
it was 16-13.
Yeah, like that should never happen. That should never happen when you're a team like Oklahoma. I understand we've had a down year, but like I am tired of OU teams. I would rather have an OU team that is shittier, but it comes into games ready to play no matter what it is, than whatever the heck this year was. where we were like, I don't know what this is, but we're going to play down to everyone, and we're going to, maybe kind of play up sometimes, but as long as it's not this year, I would take one more loss on our schedule if we just blew everyone out that we were supposed to,
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if I fully agree with that because less losses are better, obviously.
Well, yeah,
but also like the way we played, I that was so garbage and so frustrating, and it's just purely infuriating for sure. I want to give a couple thoughts on Levy. I'm a little sketched by the Baylor thing, but I think all of that will come out in a background check, investigation, that sort of stuff. Obviously has a lot of success, and the OU ties help. He was a graduate assistant here. Less good OU tie. He was the Baylor coach who wore a Tulsa hat on the sideline and was sneaking around. That was not great, but you know what? I can forgive him for that one. Because I don't know. I think that could be a good fit. But again, I think nothing happens without making sure he's fully vetted, and it is at very least a guilty by association sort of deal. Because I don't know. I feel like running a moral program in that sense, ethical in that sense is very, very important.
Definitely.
Anyways, yeah. So Jameson, what were we gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, I think that's definitely a key. And to be honest, other than that, there's, like you said, there's really not much smoke when talking about offensive coordinators and candidates, and that's quite telling. And I think that we're gonna, to be honest, I was talking earlier in the podcast about how late we're gonna see. I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of get our idea here within the next couple of days. I don't have any information to put that forward. I'm just kind of going on a hunch here just because of how pivotal it is to have this put in place now. But other than that, we can talk about, some of the players leaving and the recruits too. And do we want to talk about Oklahoma State this podcast?
That feels like it was 80 years ago. It's
weird.
weird.
I legitimately, I did not get an opportunity to even watch the game, and I haven't watched it. Once I learned we lost, I didn't watch anything.
You're kidding me. You did not watch it?
I'm literally not. No, it wasn't my choice, but yeah.
Oh, that's tough. Well,
I had no clue. The next morning, I was like, oh, I better figure out if we won or lost. So
wow.
I was not in jail, to clarify.
Okay, that's good.
There's a possibility. You guys know.
Were you poisoned? Were you roofied?
By myself. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Well,
we do a little poisoning.
Oh God. Well, Chris Plank, OU's sideline reporter, is actually just saying that he expects Brent Venables to be the next head coach at OU any minute now. No telling how much he actually
we've been
knows.
Hearing that for days now. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
We've been waiting.
It's been 2 days.
I will say, well, we were hearing, yesterday and the day before that Venables would be announced at the press conference. But so I do want to say, quick programming note on the air. I think let's try to stick with sort of the current team, and I do want to talk about it. I want to hear you guys' thoughts on people that are leaving, and then before we roll into, the Cruton corner where who knows what happens. People that aren't even on the team yet can leave at any time. So I do want to hear. Stoggs and some of the other dudes that are expectant to be on the way out.
Yeah. So, who we have on our way out? Our transfer portal guys. Obviously, the biggest name, Spencer Rattler. We all thought this was coming anyways, regardless of Lincoln. He is in the portal with the intention to leave. The 2 locations looking like UCLA, which would be fun. Or Arizona.
No way.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. This is what we're hearing. UCLA, which is, or Arizona State, which is something I floated in the past. So those are the 2.
I think it's UCLA would make sense. Arizona State has Jalen Daniels, and we can say that Jalen Daniels was not good, but oh my God, that'd be so freaking funny having UCLA USC as Spencer Rattler.
Rattler is such a DTY replacement.
Spencer and Chip.
Like he will have one legitimate Heisman moment per game, but then the rest of the game is going to be garbage. That's such a DTY thing.
No, he's not garbage. Come on, he's an MVP.
at UCLA.
I'm talking about Dylan Turner Yale, and I'm not talking about.
Oh yeah. No, don't insult DTY.
Oh
like
no,
that.
no, not DTY. DTR. UCLA.
Okay.
There's so many
Dorian
DTR,
Thompson
UCLA's
Robinson.
quarterback.
I was
Gotcha,
like, God,
gotcha.
what are you doing? What is Ty Turner?
UCLA's current quarterback, who has legitimately won like, oh shoot, this is a Heisman moment per game, but then the rest of the game is just garbage. That is such a great person for Rattler to replace. Yeah, sorry, DTY. Did not mean to do that to you. You're great all the time. Never make mistakes.
That's funny. And then, of course, the other headliners, Theo Weiss heading to the portal, it seems. Jaden Hazelwood heading to the portal. Seems like his time is definitely done. And then Austin Stockner as well is portaling. So that means that every single one of our big wide receiver / tight end commits from the 2019 class gone. With just no real pomp or circumstance. One went to jail. One, is has injury issues, including and then Stogner, with the staph infection, and Theo also hurt. So it's disappointing. It's frustrating. I think a lot of it is just weird incidents, but certainly sad to see him go. And I gotta ask, like, Stogner clearly was the best one of all of them, right? Like, nope, there's no real question about that.
No, I think Hazel was better.
Well, production-wise.
But Stogner was in a one-off position. He was like the firm, main tight end on the team. And
are
Lincoln
we talking about overall?
Are we talking about talent, or are we talking
I think the most significant loss to the team when we're just looking at the bowl game, yeah, it's Stogner for sure. Because we've had our who's WR1 talks all the time about our receivers, and when you look at Weiss and Hazelwood, there was never a firm one. Losing your starting tight end is more significant, especially when you have depth kind of implies too much talent or skill in our receiver room. Not that there's not. I think depth implies too much production in our receiver room because there truly isn't that much production. We have a lot of more receivers. We still have presumably Mims. We have Stoops. Stoops is not going to leave with his dad. That would just be
a little awkward.
The only thing that can make this any crazier is Stoops entering the transfer portal.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but it certainly is a bummer to lose all of them. But it's not. I thought we'd lose some. I thought Hazelwood was a goner. Theo Weiss is a mild surprise, but and a little with Stog. I don't know. He had a good Bedlam game. Definitely his best of the season. So
the thing with Hazelwood is he's either going to go forwards or backwards. He can't move laterally worth a shit. So
yeah, Jameson, what are your thoughts?
That joke, I thought it would do so much.
I know, I got it, but you got me in the wrong timeline. It came too quick. So yeah, I think it's not a coincidence that offensive sides of the ball are coming out quicker in terms of I'm leaving because their coach, their offensive coordinator is gone. I understand position groups, specifically running back, is not saying anything because DeMarco Murray's been so vocal, but the wide receivers and the quarterbacks, they're gone because they were Lincoln's guys. I understand we can talk about wide receiver. And Dennis Simmons is gone too. So that makes sense. I still think there's plenty of more people that are going to be leaving because they're kind of hanging in right now because they have time to hang in. There's no point currently to get in the transfer portal urgently because unless you truly know you're gone, because there's so much more to go with the season and then a full off season where you can decide to move at that point. So right now, a lot of our defensive players are kind of sitting around saying, okay, I'm just going to stay here for a bit and I'm going to see who's going to stay on this coaching staff. And for example, if I am a linebacker and I really enjoyed my time here, but if they completely sack Odom, I'm gone. So that's kind of my thought process here, but I would not be surprised to see a lot of transfers in the secondary room just because if we're talking defense, just because of there's just a lot of guys there that have a lot of talent and just didn't play a lot. And our D line's already going to take a hit in general just because a lot of guys are eligible to go to the draft. So just wait, honestly. we're going to see a lot more hit the transfer portal. It's just the offensive guys are coming early because there's no chance they'd come back no matter who we hire.
Yeah, the floodgates are. Yeah, I don't even think they're open yet. The little hole has cracked in the dike, and Bob Stoops is a little boy with his finger in it. We're just waiting on the next hole.
It's just a little boy.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. At least until we get a coach. That is the point where we can really turn this thing around. In terms of portaling guys, you have to be a little worried about Williams as well. Obviously,
Huge.
The rumor is right now that he's going to stay for the Bulls and continue workouts with the team, and then make a decision after that. But that's kind of priority number one in terms of roster stabilization, in my opinion, is figuring out Caleb first, because with a lot of the coaching guys we're keeping, Bedenbaugh obviously seems like he's a Norman Lane, and then DeMarco's obviously staying for good and has been keeping him and on staff with the recruiting edge with running backs has been huge. So hopefully, it seems like the line and the and the running back core have been the most stable of the recruits. And I'm spilling over into Jameson's time. I'm sorry, buddy. Let me hit you. Ty, what were you going to say before I hit his music?
I do. I have a sort of a conspiracy theory on Bedenbaugh. That's real quick. I think looking at his he was on a 2-year contract. He's got 1 year left. I think, like we've always been talking about, Bedenbaugh, I think probably is NFL bounds. I feel like his decision, and I'm not trying to discount it. We can't ask for anything more from the guy. He's given us tremendous stuff, but I think his decision is probably finish out my, next year at OU, finish out that contract, and then go to the NFL. Like, there's no reason for him to go somewhere and commit to like a rebuilding process, right? Because that's going to just prolong his time, even if he's making more money. I think a better career decision maybe for him is to ride out the last year at OU and then reevaluate. So I think that maybe is a possibility.
We'll see for sure. But yeah, Jameson mentioned a important thing in the private chat here. Let's talk about if Caleb leaves, who we want to kind of fill that spot.
Because it's fun. I know
fun.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, but let's just kind of just check who's in the portal right now.
We'll revisit this list in a couple weeks, whenever he actually does leave, and then double content. There you go.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the best quarterback right now in the portal, and I understand this is not optimal, is Dylan Gabriel of UCF. What y'all got? Any thoughts on Dylan Gabriel?
That would be a very sad downgrade, but I think he's okay.
But wait, hold on.
Well, it's even worse now that AR-15 seems like he's staying.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
because he just tweeted out the scared money don't make none, which is apparently a big thing for. Gosh, I'm blanking on the new Florida coach. You know what I mean? Yeah. Go ahead, James.
The guy you've been tooting his horn for.
I've been tooting his horn for so long, and I already forgot it. It's
Louisiana head coach.
Yeah, it's killing me. It's been a long day, long couple days. It's not going to come to me, is it? No,
here's a wild one.
Billy Napier.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to hear your wild one, Ty.
Guess who still has a year of eligibility? Dude's been playing.
Charlie Brewer.
I understand there's no, and it's not Tate Martell either. And I understand there was a big interruption in there, but a guy by the name of Mackenzie Milton has another year in college football. 2017 national champion quarterback from like 4 years ago, still playing college.
That's so sad. I don't know if we can take him. He's just more of a
field.
He's like Alex. He's like Alex Smith. Alex Smith came back and played for Washington football team for a little bit, and he'd go back to pass, and everyone would hold their breath every single snap, and he just throw like a little 6-yard like slant.
What about Tua's brother from Maryland?
He's horrible, dude. He's horrible. Jameson,
he's from Maryland.
Yeah, but he threw 5 picks against Iowa.
Yeah. No, honestly, I'm just talking about guys currently that are in the portal. Obviously, I would hope that if Caleb left, we would grab a guy that's not currently in the portal, and that would be highly regarded. But what if? So I already said it earlier. Whenever I was trying to guess, what about Charlie Brewer? Does that wet your whistle, Bobby?
Charlie Brewer does not. But hey, here's a guy who just entered the portal tonight. Jake Haener from Fresno State.
Oh man, we'll have to ask Blake about that. I've not seen that one yet.
I love Jake Haener. That'd be fun. But
a
Brewer,
little interesting that they're already putting their name in the portal, because a lot of the times, we'd talk to them and be like, "Hey, come to Oklahoma," and then they say they're in the portal and then they come. So maybe that he's already in the portal is a little bit dicey, because we're still waiting on answers from Caleb Williams. So other teams will probably be ahead of us in that regards. What about good old remember Jacob Zeno from Baylor? He's in the portal right now. What you think about that? Remember him just working last year? I know this is really bad. What about Tommy DeVito from Syracuse?
Yes. Yes. Just for the memes.
Yes.
Just for the memes.
Yes. I need that. Just so you can have I just love the DeVito thing.
I would literally, I would not, even if we were asked, because I think we're going to be anyways. I wouldn't even be mad. How can you be mad at Tommy DeVito?
Oh,
yeah, but that's really about it, in the portal. It's a little shaky. There's some other names that are better than the guys I listed, but those were some of the funny ones. I've seen some people on the message boards talk about OU quarterback Charlie Brewer next year as a gap, and I'm like, a gap for what? We don't have anybody again in 2022. We need somebody for 2 years.
That would be wild. Yeah.
And oh my god, it's going to be ugly if we lose Caleb, guys. I mean, we can beg Chandler Morris to come back. I don't know.
We just need to go. Here's the thing, right? It's like, I understand, like, things become obsolete, but there develops this sort of certain novelty to things. Because look at like the triple option, right? The triple option has been obsolete for the longest time, but it gives people just crazy fits whenever they have to face it, because it's become so obsolete that no one has a defense that's really built to deal with it, more or less. The wishbone.
Oh God. No.
I think the wishbone is old enough now. It's old enough now that maybe
this
it could
would
work.
Do we want to be Georgia Tech? No.
We're not.
Do you want our program just to turn to dust?
You know what the difference? Well, we're already on that path, so we might as well. And if it did, Dune is a great movie. Dust is not bad.
Okay. Well, all right.
Give me the new
Cruton
Corner.
Yeah. No. Yeah. We
Bobby
can't have the happy.
Go, live your life.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Visual. If y'all listening to this, y'all need to go look this online. Yeah, post this on like Twitter or something, Bobby, please.
Visual people.
Cut the short, make it into a meme.
Visual people need to see that one. It was very good. So, anyways, Jameson, live your life.
Jameson and I had no warning of that either. That was
they. I wish y'all could see their faces when that was playing. It was very good. So, Jameson, I see we have told many a recruit to go live their life. What's the damage?
Yeah, let's go down the list of our decommitments, unfortunately, and kind of get an idea of what's going on and what's probably to come. And we could start with 2023 because that's been the hot button thing. If you just watched, you saw Chicken Rooster Malachi Nelson leaving me, and it's very sad. But he is already committed to USC and Lincoln Riley. He's completely already turned. This is a 2023 guy. This is a guy that's not signing this year. He's already moved over, and he's got a whole another year of his recruitment. That's how much allegiance he has to Lincoln Riley. And his best friend, Mekhi Lemon, decommitted as well today. So I would not be surprised that since they're a package deal, you see Mekhi Lemon, 5-star wide receiver, moving on to USC. Brandon Ennis was another guy that was with him. He decommitted on the 28th, right as that news happened. And that's another guy. Would he want to go travel? But here's the big thing with the 2023 guys. Yes, we did lose Trayon Webb, But the guy who's playing with Malachi Nelson and Mekhi Lemon right now at Los Alamitos, a guy who transferred from Las Vegas just to go play with his new quarterback, is alleged allegiance to DeMarco Murray in trying to stay at OU as a 5-star wide receiver in that 2023 class, and DeAndre Moore. And that is huge. That shows you how much of a stamp DeMarco Murray has been putting on these recruits and really honing them in. We've already seen it from multiple people from the Las Vegas area. We just got news from Steve Wiltfong that Jake Taylor isn't even taking a visit from USC. That's how much he believes in staying with OU. He's a Las Vegas guy. He is not a running back. Guess what? I guess DeMarco Murray has such a good relationship with those guys in that state. And then also Javonte Barnes, not an OU commit, but was a strong OU lean. He is saying that as long as DeMarco's there, they're going to be in my top 3 group. So DeMarco has been a huge deal in recruiting. And I mean, are you kind of like surprised about this at all? Because I'm not really too surprised, because DeMarco is a high character guy, and he was doing really well in recruiting at Arizona. And he continues to make a mark and was trying to revive the running back recruiting in Oklahoma. That was a huge flop in the past couple of years. And this class was supposed to be pretty good with having a guy like Raleek Brown, who's yet to decommit but should go to USC. We saw him at a home visit with Lincoln Riley, Dennis Simmons wearing their USC gear with his dad. So I would not be surprised to see Raleek switch any moment now. We've talked about how he has a son that is in California. So that's a big deal. And also, like I was talking about Gavin Sawchuk, bringing him in, we have not seen anything publicly from Gavin Sawchuk. But if a lot of people are staying, keeping the allegiance to DeMarco Murray, I think silence is a great answer. So moving on with that, I mean, are you surprised, Bobby, Ty, about DeMarco Murray's, people are really hanging in and staying with Oklahoma because of him?
I'm not surprised, honestly, because he seems like a good recruiter. He obviously is dedicated to the school, as a guy who, played, I believe, 4 years with OU. 4 or 3.
He was here for 4. I don't know if he played for 4.
He played as a freshman. I'm pretty sure as a redshirt freshman.
He had an injury, didn't he?
Or not. He got hurt at the end of the season, but or something like that. Because I seem to remember him playing
the championship.
Yeah,
he played.
He got hurt in the return, that kickoff return, right?
Against Missouri. Yeah, but
he played.
It was only
6 to 10.
Yeah, he was only out one game. It was a very big game, but he was out for it. But yeah, DeMarco Murray. The guy bleeds crimson and cream. Definitely the crimson. Everyone bleeds crimson, but not everyone bleeds crimson and cream. So he's an OU guy.
I bleed cream.
I bleed cream.
This is gonna take a turn real quick.
Gross.
That's not blood. That's not.
Okay, yeah. We're moving on. The guys OU through and through. He's doing a great job recruiting. I know there are a lot of rumors out there that he started yelling at Lincoln Riley. I don't really buy that one. I wish it was true, because it'd be damn cool if he did.
That'd be awesome.
It'd be awesome, but
I need a shaky cell phone video, of DeMarco Murray trying to fight Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, a Texas style leak. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the other decommitments that we have so far, and then we can kind of do what we did last episode and kind of run through some of the names that have yet to decommit and kind of think where things are standing with them. Cody Mckenzie, we talked about him last podcast as a guy that was OU through and through, but he's very attached, to Lincoln Riley and especially to Brian Odom, very, very close to Odom. And even though Odom has not said he's leaving yet, Cody Mckenzie, he did decommit, but he did take an in-home visit from Bob Stoops and Brian Odom, where they talked with him a little bit about possibly staying and coming back, and he would consider it, but he's kept his open-minded to teams like Texas and Texas A&M and even possible USC. But if Brian Odom stays, it's a guy that he swears by as like an amazing coach, and he really looked up to the way Kenneth Murray's relationship was with Odom in that last year, and how much of a better linebacker that he made him into a first-round draft pick. And that was a thing that he wanted to be So if we keep Odom, maybe see Mackenzie's flip back in. Demetrius Hunter, Pancake Hunter. I know a lot of people are really sad about this offensive center out of Texas. He decommitted. I did not see this one coming with all of the beat 'em bow possibly staying, possibly leaving kind of thing. What it seems to be is beat 'em bow is telling his commits right now and his targets that I cannot absolutely guarantee you that I'm not going to stay. I'm saying I can't tell you false promises, which I think is really, really meta and smart because he's doing the exact opposite of what Lincoln did, saying that I'm going to be here no matter what and then leaving out of thin air. He's keeping it real with them, and I think the players should and would respect that. And so if Beat 'em Bo does end up staying after we announce this head coach, these are type of players that might consider hopping back in. And I would not be surprised if a large amount of OU's former commits and targets extend their signing into the late signing period rather than do it early. Because that is all A-okay, to be completely honest, if you're still undecided. And then a huge one that hit us really bad. I didn't really have a read on how this guy was going to, react to this at all. Was Derek Moore, defensive lineman out of the Baltimore area. And that hurts because, I would think, we wouldn't keep Tibbs maybe, but maybe we would. And him leaving sucks because he was a high-end 4-star guy. And you don't get high-end 4-star defensive linemen often. So it's a huge bummer that we lost him. But it looks like Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, our 5-star 2022 guy, that I said maybe he could flip back to Texas A&M. He's showing some signs of life, saying that he kind of would stay in Oklahoma. But I still think that you need to wait and see who's going to be his position coach and who he's going to stick with, just because, he's a guy that really bonded well with Lincoln Riley and is a man of faith. And I think that Lincoln really connected with him on that end. And I think that if he doesn't really like the coach, I could see him flipping and going home to Texas A&M close to his family. But you guys want me to roll really, really quickly through these commits that we have yet and kind of just give you an idea of what's going on. Is that okay?
Yeah, hit it.
Okay, cool. So we hit this the last pod, but I'll do it again. Gentry Williams was in between USC and Oklahoma and then chose Oklahoma. We have not heard anything from him. And if you're a recruit and you're currently committed and you're not saying much, there's two schools of thought. Silence is great, and that means he's committed, or that means he's still on the fence and he doesn't know what to say. So let's wait and see on that one because I'm really worried about Gentry moving off to USC just because he considered it in the first point. Gavin Sawchuk, it's hard not to think that a running back wants to stay with DeMarco Murray. We'll see how close that they truly are, but it looks like DeMarco Murray is doing a great job. Jacob Sexton, offensive lineman, Edmonds kind of started a kind of a movement and a hashtag of trying to keep OU commits within the class. And that's really big because, he's from Deer Creek, Oklahoma, and he is trying to become a leader in the movement of keeping people here. So that was definitely good to hear. It seems like a couple of the other guys from Oklahoma we saw from Robert Spears Jennings, safety out of Broken Arrow, looks like he's kind of falling into that as well. Other guys that I hadn't mentioned are still yet to be quiet, but they're a little bit farther down on the star rankings of this 2022 class. But I think is by far the hugest ones to watch for. When I'm unsure is Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, Gentry Williams, and Gavin Sawchuk moving forward, because I could say Raleek Brown is as good as gone. And there's probably 0% chance he's at OU.
Yeah, no, it's about trying to get those other guys to get rallied around, but I feel like the offensive people, they're committed to OU because of Lincoln Riley. And there you go. And I think that's the challenge that, you have to figure out with this next coach is finding a guy who, who's good enough to obviously get you to the NFL, but you're getting there because he's a good coach and because OU's a good program, not just because the coach is so good that the program almost doesn't matter.
Definitely.
Ty, Ty's muted.
You got any thoughts on Cruton?
I kind of grabbed it. Yeah. So the one thought I have on recruiting is, and it's I don't want it to. I think it's a hard pill for some OU fans to swallow right now. But I've been a big proponent since actually one of my first sort of monologues on the Schooner Pod as a full time co-host was that I want people at OU, regardless of their talent, that want to be at the University of Oklahoma. Obviously on the coaching side, but on the player side as well. And I make that argument. I think Kyler Murray is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, even in college. But I would rather take Baker if I had to pick a starting quarterback at college because he loved – and Kyler loved OU as well. But I want someone that is crazy about OU, like Baker, like Bob Stoops. But also, at the same time, I'm a big – I know it's – I don't believe in it necessarily. I don't believe that all of the players believe in it. But I'm a big it's also a chance to get an education guy. And I do consider football to be a vocational education for a lot of these guys. In fact, at OU, the highest paid graduates are the ones going on to the NFL, at least initially. So I do think that I'm not going to fault anyone at all. I don't think anyone should be mad at any recruits for making a decision that is best for them. Like these are, sometimes 16, 17, 18-year-olds guys that are making decisions that are worth ridiculous sums of money potentially and their entire futures, and you don't want them to make the decision that's not best for them, and you don't want them to make the decision that they're not 100% committed to.
Absolutely, and there's no reason to be mad at them for wanting to relook at everything after a decision this seismic has been made.
There's no animosity at all, and there shouldn't be, and if there's any, that is absolute gooner. That is like tip-top gooner. I think for the most part, everyone already sees the writing on the wall. When a recruit decommits, it's just like, oh, well.
Everyone was really mean to Pancake, and that made me sad.
People are mean to Pancake? Why? Come on.
People were very mean to Pancake. He quote tweeted his thing. It was like, why are people so hateful with a sad face?
No.
Which is just, it's so embarrassing. Don't tweet at Croots. We've been saying this forever. They're just trying to make the right decision for him. And Pancake, I'm sad to see you go. The pictures of you throwing all of those pancakes up in the air were great. I'm sad to waste all those pancakes for no reason. But, you know what, man? I'm not going to talk crap on you for making the right decision for you and your family. It's ridiculous. Poor Pancake.
I'm pulling it up right now. Now, honestly, screw y'all.
Yeah, y'all are jerks, and you make the whole sport. Well, not all of y'all, but the gooners who do that are bad. Not all and again, keep in mind, not all Sooner fans are gooners, but there are some gooners out there that are just atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. Other than that, I think that's it. This is honestly a great pod that I thought we were going to talk about the Oklahoma State game, but the more we talk about this, the more I realize it's not even relevant and. Whatever. Congratulations, Oklahoma State. We're cheering for y'all. But I really hope y'all get more respect.
Yeah, I do.
They should get more. They got a lot of it today. Sorry, Ty. Go for it.
I'm happy.
Not enough.
I'm happy for Oklahoma State. I think they are more. I've been really, down on Cincy. I understand they're undefeated, but I think Oklahoma State is legitimately a better team. Do they deserve to be in a playoff? I don't know. But I do want to say on the record, I am happy for Oklahoma State, especially with how things turned out for us. I'm glad Oklahoma State won because they value that win to their core. They love that win, and they're going to use it to propel themselves forward. So, as much as it pains me, we have much worse things that happen to us than a 4-point loss to a really, really good team. So.
It's painful now because I feel like OU could have been in a position have a great chance at the playoff. Especially and not only that, I would have loved to be in Dallas right now, but all of that just feels like a billion miles away right now from the point where we're sitting right now. That's a bummer, but you know what? I think it makes more sense to talk about the future, move on, and something like what happened on Sunday will whip you, into forward thinking very quick. So, anyways. Thank you all so much for listening to yet another Schooner Pod. We will be here for you through the entire coaching search, through early signing day, and the rest of this certainly crazy offseason. We're, I guess, excited for it. I'm bummed that I'm bummed that it's happening. But you know what? If we're gonna do it, let's have a little fun while we do it. let's have some fun. Flight trackers, all that good stuff. So,
we're tracking flights now. We're gonna how the tables turn, right? This is a legitimate tables turn.
I know how the turn.
I don't think I'm ever gonna track a flight tracker ever again. I don't care.
No, it's BS. But anyways.
Also, not every flight is on there. I don't know. Every commercial flight is, but
what if we
works
got
off a thing called like ADS, and if you don't have it, which commercial or private planes don't necessarily have to or have to have them turned on, they wouldn't show up. So that's something to remember.
True.
Someone wants to hide on a private jet from trackers, they can.
True. Yeah, and Castiglione's not a big, I don't know, fly everyone in guy, apparently. I don't know. Anyways, this has been the Schooner Pod. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time when we're talking about Championship Week on the Weekend Spread. It's the last edition of that, folks. So can't wait for that. All right. Till next time, have a good one. Boomer Sooner. Keep the faith, everyone. We got this.
Run to freedom. Go! Go! Live your life!